We're now going to move on to what we consider the major pieces. So we talked about our two minor pieces, which are the bishop and the knight. We consider the rooks and the queen major pieces because they have significantly more power than their minor piece counterparts. So as for the rooks, rooks can move laterally in any direction. So let's go ahead and let's clear off our board and let's get a rook on the field. So this rook it moves laterally. So it can move in a straight line in any direction. Up, down, left, right. Now a rook can't move diagonally because only bishops and queens can move diagonally. But much like the bishop, the rook's strength is its ability to be able to move from one side of the board to the other in one move. The rook can go from A1 to A8 in one move because of its mobility. Another advantage of the rook, which was a weakness of the bishop, is the rook has the capability of covering both colors of squares in the game. For example, we talked about how the bishop, and this light-squared bishop, is an excellent defender of the light squares, but you can easily mount an attack on the dark squares surrounding the light-squared bishop to exploit its weakness. The rook does not have that same weakness because, being able to go in a straight line, it's going to cross over both dark and light squares. So dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Whereas we cannot have the same level of color weakness with a rook as we do with, say, a bishop. The last unique feature of the rook is that it has the unique ability to be able to guard and protect its counterpart. So for example, we're just going to make a few moves that are going to show a relatively standard opening position, like so. This is a developed position. Going back to our original rules, we've controlled the center, we've developed all of our pieces, and we've gotten our king to safety, so we've met all of our opening goals that we want to meet. We can see what's left is that we now have two rooks that are actually defending each other. This rook is defending the A1 rook because they are on the same rank as each other, and this rook on A1 is defending the rook on F1. So they're watching each other's back. And you can actually use this in several applications. Let's make a couple more moves. Let's establish a kingside attack over here. Not only can rooks guard each other laterally, but they can also guard each other vertically, and they can create things called batteries. Former world champion Alexander Elohim was one of the big proponents of the rook battery, and actually called it Elohim's ram. Whereas there's a considerable amount of power behind this offensively, having multiple major pieces zoned in on one specific target, while still having defensive resilience of being able to guard each other at the same time. So the teamwork and the synergy between the rooks provides it a little bit of extra power that not even the bishop pair has. Whereas the bishops can control both colors, they're never going to be able to defend each other because they're restricted to whatever color of a square that their home square was. So this could be the best light-squared bishop in the world. It's never going to be the savior and protector of the dark-squared bishop because a light-squared bishop can never go on a dark square. Whereas the rooks can always defend each other, granted if they're on either the same file, as in this example, or the same rank, as in an example like this. Rooks that cannot move or who are hemmed in by either their own pieces or by other pieces are not going to be very happy because they're not contributing to their full power extent to the position. For example, this rook that's highlighted on A1, while it certainly has the capability of being a powerful piece, currently is extremely poor, if not worthless, in this position. Because if we look at the scope, it can't go this way, it can't go this way. It's not like this pawn or this knight are under attack. And for this rook to become active, we not only need to move the knight, we also need to move this bishop. And to move this bishop, which would go this way, we're also going to need to move this knight because this knight's in the way of the bishop. So it's going to take 1, 2, 3 moves to be able to get this rook active, and then you're probably still going to need to move this rook from the corner of the board into somewhere a little more centralized, or wherever you have your attack planned. So much like its counterpart the bishop, rooks like to be able to use their mobility as an advantage, and if rooks get caught behind other pieces or their own pieces, they can become extremely less valuable and less effective.